will be discussing the immense pressure in the race toward a COVID-19 vaccine.
Followed by a look at President Trump's visit to Kenosha, Wisconsin this past Tuesday, as the city is still recovering from the damage the demonstrations caused in response to the murder of another unarmed Black man at the hands of law enforcement.
And finally, we're committed to bringing you the news, views, and info to go on this episode of the Report Roundtable Discussion. I'm Bree Eastlick.
I'm Jefferson Denham.
I'm Jorge Flores.
And I'm Amanda Mendoza. As you can see, we are continuing to practice social distancing and are going to conduct our episodes via Zoom for the foreseeable future. Although we cannot be together in person, we invite you all to continue to be a part of the discussion. Follow us on Twitter at The Report CSUF or on our Titan TV Instagram at Titan TV CSUF to keep in touch with us and view our new contents.
We begin today's episode with an update on the COVID-19 pandemic that has changed all of our lives. Recently, a commissioner from the Food and Drug Administration, Dr. Stephen Hahn, stated that despite immense pressure to push a vaccine out to the public as quickly as possible, the FDA will not be influenced by politics nor release the vaccine before it's ready. For more on this hot story, we turn to reporter Whitney Wild.
We will not make that decision on the basis of politics. That's a promise.
The head of the Food and Drug Administration insists a vaccine will only reach the public after officials determine it is safe and effective. Dr. Stephen Hahn added he would sooner resign than release a treatment before it's ready. Hahn recently told the Financial Times the agency may issue an emergency use authorization for a vaccine before late-stage clinical trials are completed. Some experts worry the desire to bring a vaccine to the market will push officials to rush through testing. The FDA already allowed emergency use of hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine, then pulled back when the data showed they didn't work.
The conversations we've been having out here are people are very worried about the process and very worried that the process will be subverted for political reasons.
Concerns about vaccines are growing as students across the country return to some form of school, whether in person, virtually, or a blend. Universities are trying to keep their campuses safe, but challenges and questions remain.
There will be outbreaks, as we know, and we want to catch them quickly and take immediate action.
I'm Whitney Wild reporting.
All right, so can I say I totally empathize with the American public. There is just so much misinformation out there surrounding the pandemic, right? So recently you've heard that the president retweeted a deliberately skewed reading of a CDC report saying that only 6% of the 180,000 plus who have actually died from this horrible virus is the actual death toll, which is not. Twitter took it down, stating it was misinformation, and this claim has been roundly refuted, but the damage is done with statements like that. So specifically, let's talk about the FDA commissioner, Dr. Hahn. He says he won't be intimidated or influenced by politics. I certainly hope so, although there's plenty of speculation that this administration does bring a lot of pressure to bear on science. In fact, they even doubt science openly. So I came across an interesting article. This is a Professor Kinch in St. Louis, saying releasing a vaccine too soon would do substantial damage. Quoting him, people are going to die unnecessarily if we take chances with this. So I really do hope that the FDA commissioner is true to his word. And there has been calls for an independent counsel to review the FDA before any vaccine is released. So that sounds like it could be a good idea. Now, Bree, I know that your mom is in the medical field. What are your thoughts on this?
You know what? So yeah, my mom works, she's a nurse, she's an LVN, and she works at Kaiser up here right outside Sacramento. But honestly, the problem is right now is people are going to her hospital because it's the best hospital in our area. So people are coming from all over. So all of these things are happening, and the government, they are pushing for this vaccine and they are worried, but at the same time, the board, the Data and Safety Monitoring Board, are not all government employees. So that's good for everyone's sake. And I'm hoping that, all the employees, aren't being pressured into getting this vaccine out, but especially the ones that aren't a government employee. I really hope that they really are, you know, trying to stay to themselves and say, look, we got to take the time on this, because the actual program is called Operation Warp Speed. So people even just hearing that are saying, warp speed, so you're really trying to push this out. So I really hope that these employees are taking a step back and looking at what they're doing.
I'd agree with Dr. Hans. If we try to rush the vaccine without a proper amount of trials and through testing, who knows what kind of outcome it'll have. And even if it's gone through plenty of trials and it's been tested on thousands of people, what will the outcome be when it's tested on millions? The fact is that we can't really predict what's going to happen with this vaccine.
Totally. And, you know, as we hope, let's hope that the FDI doesn't get influenced by politics this time, because we know that the most important factor is us, society. In other news, this past Tuesday, President Trump visited Kenosha, Wisconsin to attend a community safety roundtable following the murder of the 29-year-old Jacob Blake by law enforcement. His death subsequently sparked a series of protests just 3 months after the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. During one of these protests, 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse opened fire on the attendees and is now facing charges for allegedly killing 2 protesters and wounding 1 other. My question for you is, guys, what do you think about Donald Trump's visit? Do you think that the president did good just talking about the businesses and how they are trying to implement activities for them to reopen? Because we need to know this. Only one person spoke at the roundtable and mentioning the name of Jacob Blake. No one else did. And it seems that the president just ignored that comment.
You know, Jorge, I love what you just said. The president is framing the whole incident in terms of economics, providing money for rebuilding businesses affected by the unrest. These are, in my estimation, Band-Aid measures. I mean, this problem is systemic. It's deeply rooted. By not dealing with the deeply rooted problems, this will just continue to happen over and over again. The audacity, if I may add, of those on the right villainizing people of color for trying to push back on a system that's clearly targeting them is reprehensible.
I completely agree. I think right now it's a very tumultuous time, and it's crucial to listen to these marginalized voices who are trying to speak out against systemic racism and police brutality. And I think what we're seeing today is Americans and marginalized people saying enough is enough, and that we want change in American society, and we're not going to stay silent.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? One thing that, you know, really spoke to me after everything happened was all of the athletes who really stood up for the community and said, you know what, we're not going to play right now because this isn't a time to focus on sports. We need to worry about our people. And, you know, the MLB and the NBA, they all canceled, you know, some games. And one thing that really stood out to me, though, was the WNBA. You know, they came out, the Washington Mystics, they came out and they all wore white shirts with 7 bullet holes in them to support Jacob Blake. And, you know, they said, look, this is what we're supporting. You need to hear us out. And I really liked that they used their platform to speak, because if they have it, why not use it? That's what I really liked. And I hope that Blake continues to recover and everything gets better. Now let's move on here. This year, we've sadly said goodbye to some of the brightest stars in entertainment. This last week has left us another crushing blow with the loss on Friday of our beloved King T'Challa. Chadwick Boseman, the 42 star died at 43 after a 4-year-long battle with colon cancer, which he's kept as a highly guarded secret. Although he is no longer with us, it's certain that his legacy will live on forever. Rest in power, Chadwick. And all of us at Titan TV, we give our deepest sympathies to all the family and friends of Chadwick, because he'll be deeply missed. Now, there's so much to say about this, you guys. So much to happen with Black Panther, with, you know, what's going to continue happening. But let's look back at Chadwick. He didn't tell anybody about what was going on with him. He kept everything so guarded and so secretive. He went out to help children and, you know, go put a smile on their faces. And he's created such a hero for everyone to look up on. You know, he was such an amazing person. And, you know, it just shows that he was so awesome and amazing and so selfless. But what do you guys think?
I think that, you know, my family and I, we watched Black Panther again, and we were just reminded, first of all, what a powerful message and story that was. But his performances, like you mentioned in 42, as James Brown, he brings such an amazing humanity, that we can all connect. I don't know if you saw it, but Chadwick gave a great commencement speech at Howard University. So impressive. So, I mean, people were crying. I was choked up watching it. So not only a hero, we hear that word bandied around with celebrities. He was a hero as a human being first, I say.
I want to add something what you were saying, Jefferson. I really like that. The type of person he was. Even though he was dealing with this illness, with this sickness, he was still fighting for children and being an example for everyone. I think that really counts. Another thing that I want to point out is that it was just one movie that was enough for touching our hearts and to have this example that people, they can be as great as their soul. And he clearly represented that.
And I think Chadwick Boseman, along with the Black Panther movie, made such a positive impact on the African American community. So he will always be remembered for showing African Americans that you could be strong, you could be powerful, regardless of the oppression that we face, and we could keep on fighting for a better future.
Yeah, absolutely. So what were you guys thinking? Do you think that for the future movie for Black Panther 2, what do you think that they're going to be doing with that? I mean, I've heard that some people are wondering, you know, maybe his little sister Shuri is going to take over the throne, you know? So what do you guys think? Do you think they're going to, you know, bring in another actor, or are they going to bring someone else who's going to become the new king or queen?
I personally think that there isn't anyone who could really replace Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, but I think having Shuri usurp the throne would be a very touching moment. I think it will be very meaningful in terms of the movie. So I think that would be great to see.
Yeah, I think like if they use T'Challa's younger sister, that will be super an emotional impact for us. And that will bring kind of the legacy that he's living in next Marvel movies. So I would love to see that. Let's see what happens.
So after an eventful summer, school is back in session, Titans. As we begin the new school year, we'd like to welcome everyone back to CSUF's first ever virtual semester. We miss seeing our Titans in person, but we hope everyone's staying safe and healthy. A lot has changed over the summer, so let's dive right into some hot CSUF news. So what do you predict will be CSUF's course of action next semester for spring 2021? Should we return to in-person classes, or should we remain limited?
You know what, honestly, sorry, Jefferson, go ahead.
No, Bree, after you, I insist.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I was thinking, you know, I've been talking to a lot of people about this and kind of questioning them, like, what do you think? Are we going to continue being online? And honestly, as of right now, until we get a vaccine, I don't really see us going, you know, back to school, which really sucks, especially for us who are seniors. I myself am a senior, and I'd love to go down, you know, back to Fullerton because, you know, I only got a few months down in the first place as I'm a transfer. So I think, you know, I really hope that our school allow us to come back, but at the same time, I'm really scared that it won't be happening. What about you, Jefferson?
Yeah, I was going to say that I don't really know what our options are. If you saw some of the statistics of schools who have opened around the country, but I guess most specifically at USC, there's been outbreaks of COVID. Until we have a vaccine, until we're able to just make sure that students are safe, I got to hand it to Fullerton and the president and those that are taking care of us during this pandemic. They've been, I think, really informative, letting us know how things are going, why they're doing what they're doing. The one thing I wish they would do, though, is inform us on why the tuition fees have stayed the same. I know that there's probably, I'm not going to be somebody who says, hey, the tuition fees should come down without really knowing. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy. But I think it would be helpful if the administration, if the people in charge at Fullerton would let us know exactly why the fees can't come down. I know we're offering a lot of services virtually. Hooray for that. And I'm taking advantage of that. I think you guys are probably too. But it would be probably helpful to understand why the fees are going to remain the way they are.
Exactly. I feel that when you pay the full tuition, you're paying for the experience. You're paying to meet your friends in the library, to speak with your professors. But why are we paying this full tuition if we aren't getting those experiences? If we aren't going to the classrooms and speaking with our classmates to gain more information, you pay that amount for the entire university experience, but just having services online, I feel isn't very adequate to justify the high tuition price.
Now, something that we gotta look for is the present. Are we really dealing good enough when it comes to online classes? sometimes I think it's gonna be even harder for us to keep updated and keep engaged with the teacher. Now, I see two things. For us as students, it's kind of hard to get engaged every single class because we gotta admit it, we're in our places, in our homes. What about the teachers? Do you think that's gonna be also a challenge for them? I think so.
Oh, I know so. I mean, I talked to some of my professors, I'm sure you have too, and they have said how they're struggling. Like I know one professor is still using titanium, everyone's moving over to Canvas. Even just technical issues. Last night there was a Zoom meeting thing and there was glitches trying to get that going. And however, you know, I give the professors a ton of grace. I understand how hard this is for them. But to Amanda's point, I would like to be told, why is it that the fees are staying so high? Now, there might be a great reason. It'd be great to know that. However, as I said, there are a lot of services still being offered. And I know Discover Fest, for example, is happening all digitally, of course, but you can still get involved.
This is the perfect time to do so, especially being at home and, you know, you're cramped in the house all day, you know, going on Zoom and meeting these new people and learning from them, you know, even if you're just interested in something, absolutely go out and do it, because especially right now, you know, it could really give you some extra light in your life.
State Fullerton offers a lot of virtual resources this time that we're dealing with COVID-19. The first of them is, well, we're gonna receive this counseling, talent well, talent recreation, career center, diversity and inclusion. And personally, I really like this because during these weird times that we're living under this pandemic, we need some resources that help us out while we are here at home. And when I hear to career center, diversity and inclusion, this really provides me a certainty that the university is helping us as students. Also, something that I really like is that the virtual format is going into two sides. And what I mean like this is that our classes are trying to get as much as possible for the benefit for us as students, whether if it's gonna be virtually on Zoom every single week, or if it's gonna be asynchronous. At the end, they're trying to offer the best for us under this semester. I think the best for us is to be very tolerant under these conditions and hope that this pandemic will go away, fly away.
That's a great sentiment, Jorge. And with that, that's all the time we have today on the report Roundtable Discussion. Have a safe week, everyone, and stay tuned for more news, views, and info. I'm Amanda Mendoza.
I'm Jefferson Denham.
I'm Jorge Flores.
And I'm Bree Eastlick. And as always, stay fresh, Fullerton.